which can include all of the previous examples, but relates to the use of parameters to change the sounds. So using data to change the parameters of the sounds, which can be like metaphorical or symbolic. So this is probably the most common example, like a Geiger counter, which indicates the number of atomic. Recently, with the availability of technologies, there are lots of examples using sonification. This is one example that I like. Do any of you know this work? Yes or no? Yeah. Okay, so I'll play.
He performed with her electromagnetic walk in Krakow.
Oh, she came here.
Yeah,
okay.
she came
when?
many years ago. Well,
okay.
like 10 years ago.
Okay, you saw it.
At the end of the 70s, I started to think about permanent sound installations, and I studied electronics. By chance, I found these beautiful amplifiers, telephone amplifiers, and I transformed them and used them for my sound installations with electromagnetic fields. Cables were put into rooms, and people came in. They were having these at their ears, and when they came near to the cables, they could hear all the sounds which were running in the electromagnetic cables. The system developed and became larger and more complex, and I found headphones which were large enough to have my own electronic equipment in it, which is again coils and amplifiers and some other little secrets. They look like this. It was much easier to walk around from one field to the next one and really become a kind of mixer, to become a kind of composer within the installation.
Sie kennt es mit goldenen Panne und singt am
12:40 es geht gar nicht an alle. SOS, SOS.
Spots and so on. And this was the starting point for a new kind of work, the electrical walks.
Yeah, so it's very simple. I think these devices just detect electromagnetic fields and then turn them into audio within these like big headphones. But I think the work is effective because as you walk around a city wearing these, as you can see in the video, depending on where you are, you do hear different sounds. So, a bus station with the displays will give a certain kind of sound. If you go to a cash machine, you'll get a different kind of sound. So I think the one criticism is that you hear sounds, but these are noises, and we're not able to kind of work out what they mean. But I think if you take part in it, you can actually start to discern these differences, and because we know the context of where these sounds come from. So you're near a cash machine, it's coming from a cash machine. So you have some information at least about what's causing these patterns in the sounds. so I think it is like effective in this way, and also the other narrative is that it's like I guess like a hidden layer of the city that we're not usually aware of. So she takes this to many places like Krakow, I guess, and people have a way of discovering the city, relating to the idea of a
In New
dairy.
York it was very, very loud.
But yes, but then hearing something that's become very prevalent these days, electromagnetic waves from the advances in technology that we have now.
Riga was very special too, kind of eastern sound.
Okay.
So it's like old.
Okay, so this is like a summary, like one way of summarizing what I said. So turning data into audio. So here you might be familiar with using data to create music or sound in an artistic context. So this would be what you might call music, and the use of like generative systems. The previous examples that I gave for use in auditory displays, so using real-world data in order to obtain information from them. This would be the bit on the left, and then so sonification, which I mentioned as for example, like the Geiger counter, where you use data in order to change parameters of a sound. This is sonification, or it could be termed parameter mapping sonification. This is what would be done at control rate. So are you familiar with this term? So it might be called event rate. So something that might be close to what we discern as rhythm.
Mhm.
Okay, so I guess like up to 20 hertz, so I guess 20 times a second. And then in an artistic context within music, we might call this algorithmic composition. And then if we speed up the rate of this change, so if we run this at what we know as audio rate, so at you might call this sample rate, at the rate which like a CD might run. Within auditory displays, this is called audification. So within music, or through using generative systems, this might be called non-standard synthesis on our perception. So if you have a scientific a model, some kind of generative system, or and so in this way you don't have a direct correlation between the parameters and then the actual sounds. So usually within synthesis, if you increase a parameter, something will change probably linearly, but then it might not carry on in this manner. Like an older work, which I'm not performing here, a work from 2009, which has been updated, that generates itself. It's called the Lorentz dynamical system, which is like a model of it. It's well known because but by changing parameters, so by system is also related to that, and chaos theory. So I've used this system at different speeds in order to create sounds. So as I mentioned, so the first examples are at audio rate, so it relate to audification, so to speeding up size of sounds where the parameter has been increased gradually. Varying one of the parameters, So yeah, so as you can see, you get noise from this. So if I just go backwards, again this is similar, it's the same, it's just noisy. But here, you get like a sharp attack, even though it's only a slight change from the previous example. And then here again, this is like, and then like a smaller attack. Okay.
More space.
Okay, with more space. You can take the armchairs.
Now you can talk.
Okay,
Officially I started 11:30.
Okay, yeah.
That's why. Yeah, okay. Me too. Yeah.
Jeszcze ładny dźwięk będzie. Psst.
Się chce pić. O, to ciekawe. The artist for the festival. He will perform on, on Monday.
Okay.
He's from Kiev. Maybe you can sit on the most soft chair, That's more than
Okay, I'll carry on. So control rate. So at event rate, for example, but you can kind of follow it from the end, from the left. Okay, so yeah, so hopefully that was clear. So you have something very repetitive at the beginning, and then you have some gradual build up, and then like a dying away. And then here you have something quite different. And then I also used the same kinds of data in order to control, I guess, like the form, the structure of the piece. So the same kind of data might determine, how long one section might be, or when it would lead to the next section, and the nature of the sequence of sections. So this piece is only audio. The performance that I'll be doing later, I guess it looks different. There's also a visual aspect to it, but the principle in how the sound works is similar. So this is one kind of, I guess, sonification. This is the interactive installation that I'll be showing, either from today or from tomorrow. It's it's a different kind of sonification. It's going on the idea of, I guess, thinking about how computers might see us, or how computers might think we hear. So in this work, it detects faces, and depending on your skin color, plays different kinds of music. So this was first developed in Vienna, and it related to the Vienna Philharmonic Orchestra that has like a long traditional. They're a very esteemed ensemble, but they're also they were almost exclusively white and exclusively male, for historical reasons. So when it was presented in Vienna, if you had white skin, then it would play the Blue Danube, played by the Vienna Philharmonic Orchestra. If you had darker skin, it would play a song by Fela Kuti, and then if you were somewhere in between, it would play something that was like a mixture of the two. So I've been taking this to like various places, and then depending on the city where it's presented, different music is chosen. So it's I guess it's quite fun. It's an interactive installation, so you can play with it, but it's supposed to be serious as well. So hopefully you'll see that today or tomorrow. Okay. So I'll just go on to this idea of the idea from the beginning about music music that's not meant for us, or that's not meant for human beings, or sound beyond our hearing. So if we look to ethnomusicology, music is described as humanly organized sound. So at the time, this was quite a broad definition, because it meant that you could include things like bird sound. So if you heard bird songs, then within this definition, bird songs would be music, because a human being is listening to it, and in their mind, it's been considered as organized sound, so it becomes music. So this humanly organized sound relates to Varèse's definition, which was organized sound. So this humanly organized sound definition is like a broader definition of Varèse's. However, I think now we can go beyond this. If we look to how computers are used now for artistic purposes, I think there are lots of people who still relate music or art to this idea of humanly organized ness. And I think the problem comes from the definition of things like computational creativity, which relates back to the definition of artificial intelligence. So artificial intelligence is a term that's not used in the same way anymore, but previously a loose definition might have been something like this. So the performance of tasks which, if performed by a human, would be deemed to require intelligence. So already we're instead of looking at a computer and thinking about what a computer might be capable of, that we can't do. I guess that in this definition of artificial intelligence, we're trying to make a computer be like a human, and obviously, it seems to be catching up, but it still has a long way to go. And now, with this idea related to computational creativity, so this definition, the performance of tasks which, if performed by a human, would be deemed creative. So in this definition, a computer would have to make music that would seem human, I guess, or that the human would make, and only if it succeeds in doing that, would it be deemed to be creative? So I think yeah, this is I guess very restrictive, I feel, in the use of computers and algorithms. This is another example. So Margaret Bowden writes about creativity. So at the beginning, this is page 1, she says creativity is an intrinsically human attribute. So if this is where the boundaries are set right at the beginning. In contrast, there are many examples but here are a few where these artists or writers have set out the opposite, I guess. So Xenakis was aiming for the inhuman in his works, or Max Benzer, he wrote about the first art exhibition made by computers, which was like drawings made by artists such as Nake. So he called this, artificial art, as a positive attribute of the work, and not something related to human beings. Or there's Gudipal, who writes about radical computer music. So music not meant for human beings, but he says for other kinds of networks, which might be computers or even other kinds of systems, like electricity systems or sewage systems. And so this is a bit of a joke as well, but I think something that that people shouldn't ignore. I think and there are, I guess, elements of this in the new aesthetic, which was in fashion a few years ago. So the new aesthetic was a blog, or is a blog, which included the following: so information visualization, satellite views, parametric architecture, surveillance cameras, digital image processing, data mesh video frames, glitches and corruption artifacts, voxelated 3D pixels in real-world geometries, dazzle camo, augments, render ghosts, and last and least, nostalgic retro 8-bit graphics from the 80s. So this was so people call it a fetish of this kind of these textures of these images, but it could also be thought of as a way to imagine how computers see the world, or how computers see us. So just thinking about what and then trying to visualize that. And then there are extensions for this kind of thinking, and here's one example that I like, which is related to the object-oriented phenomenology. So looking at things from the point of view of objects, or as Ian Boggess calls aliens. So this is his take, which is called alien phenomenology. So he says a really new aesthetics might work differently. Instead of concerning itself with the way we humans see our world differently, when we begin to see it through and with computer media that themselves see the world in various ways, what if we asked how computers and bonobos and toaster pastries and Boeing 787 Dreamliners develop their own aesthetics? The perception and experience of other beings remains outside our grasp, yet available to speculation, thanks to evidence that emanates from their withdrawn cores, like radiation around the event horizon of a black hole. The aesthetics of other beings remain likewise inaccessible to knowledge, but not to speculation, even to art. So he's proposing, how other beings might create art, and then in extension to that, so how they might perceive this kind of these we have these, I guess, the effects from these speculative artworks. So I think this is like a productive way of thinking about like using computers for me, and algorithms. And then related to that would be, you know, how machines listen. So before it was about machines or computers creating art or creating sound. How machines listen is like another topic, which is, I think, relevant from the revelations in how our data is being stored, how our telephone conversations are being stored, how that's being analyzed and logged. Yes, but I'm going to stop there. So that's it for now. Okay, thank you.
So the questions now. I can direct questions.
Okay. One question each.
No question.
So what about because we are here,
Yeah.
but then we have other senses, so or tactiles and things which are interconnected with our listening
Yes.
organism. What about this? What about the temperature, touch sensor?
Yes.
I'm just
think,
talking not
I
about
think it could
evident,
be,
because this is evident. We are talking a lot
Yeah.
about this.
No, I think it could be like, but I think, yes. So beyond the audible, so sound which we can't hear, or sensations that we can't
Mhm.
feel, but also, I guess, like sensations that might exist in theory, or
Mhm.
like as a concept, you know, so things that we can't hear, we can't feel. As you say, I think,
Mhm.
you know.
Well, even the
so those
vibration
things
of
could
the
be taken,
yes.
taken to be
Uh-huh.
tactile. So things
Mhm.
which we can't touch,
uh-huh.
turning that into something we could feel would be related to what I've been talking about.
This is just a lot of this kind of
Mm.
examples that we are. And the last year we have the Judy Dunaway from Boston, and she
Mhm.
was building up the installed rubber typical balloon and sending the very low frequency, which is not really audible here, but we were hearing through the balloon. So we were getting the object which extend the, so like a extra,
Yeah.
you know, hear it or do you feel it, you know. But I think there are very special
Yes,
areas
yeah.
when we have common.
Yeah. Because some people say that hearing is not another sense; it's just touch.
Yes,
In a way, yeah.
that's a
we could-
vibration. We have a very nice project once on the swimming pool. The orchestra was playing, but the sound was going up and down. So in fact, there's a beautiful images, pictures with the people like diving in the water, you know, and then listening, going deeper and
Yeah.
deeper. And that's also when you ask, did we hear? Or it was not exactly. In fact,
Yeah.
we are more feeling with the temperature of the water, and the position were also not quite typical.
That some of them have these like infrasounds, and so that's why they cause this like awe. I think so. It's one of the elements that that make us, I guess, believe in the presence of God when we enter a church and hear the sounds, even though we don't know what it is. And then if you go on to the other end, so if you have ultrasound, then ultrasound is used for now for developing haptic feedback. So yeah, and then there are certain people who say that ultrasound can is what makes objects move. So in haunted houses or haunted places, this is what causes these kind of poltergeist type phenomena. So again, you know, this is like moving into the realm of, you know, what we call touch, but then it's just vibrations again. So at the beginning of this talk, the Beyond Audible talk, so before I've talked about the ultrasound and infrasound. So this is like something that's quite
a special phenomenon. You can imagine that you in certain you are feeling this, not because you are in trouble, but you can watch it, you can feel it, the example and the result of low frequency, of course.
Or animals and insects, you know, they always know when an earthquake is coming, so they're
they know much more earlier than we.
Yes.
They don't die in tsunami.
No, they run away. I think that's more to do with like just remembering that if there's an earthquake, you need to just go up. Yeah.
Go away.
Yeah.
From the.
We've lost the connection which animals still have.
Yes, but I think animals know before the earthquake, I think. But then, we should know that if there's an earthquake, there's going to be a tsunami. And I think recently, like in Japan as well, and then also the one in Southeast Asia before, I think people just didn't know that I think there was a big earthquake, but they stayed by the beach, and so that's why they suffered. I guess an earthquake is like an auditory. It's like an alert. It's a type of crude type of auditory display, like a sensory display. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Please join us this night, because what is for 100% the concert of Rio is today. I announce his installation for tomorrow from practical thing. One, that for certain installation we need a lot of more work than just the preparing the concert, but also because of the how to say the program distribution. Usually the opening of the installation takes some time. We think that it's not, because then it stays forever, but then certain installation needs some time. That's why it's better to use them even like a concert program. We need like 15 minutes minimum, in fact, to announce it, to explain it. And in this particular case, like first installation by Dominika Śniegocka, and also your work, we need time.
Yes.
When there's a bigger crowd, then it's either like a typical opening. If we have only this event, then we have free. But when we have a program, then we have to be. And also how we move on the galleries and other stuff. So we don't know yet.
No,
yes.
Yeah.
Maybe we will open one of the installation
how,
today. Even we'll see. Now we go to Bunker Sztuki and we start to check the stuff.
Okay.
No to so thank you very much. Большое спасибо. Дякую. Okay.
So none of you are students, and you're ex-students.
The ex-students.
Yeah.
Jakie to jest hasło do... A, to jest.
To jest ten, ale teraz musisz otworzyć jakąś stronę i wtedy dopiero ci mogę wpisać,
jasne.
wiesz? Także to, że to ci osobno